안녕하세요. I'm very happy to be with you today. Annie Bratton, my colleague, and I have been here but 3 days, but already we find we have some Korean DNA. I'm very excited about your interest in social entrepreneurship. It is the wave of the future. It is the way to civil society. It is a recipe for peace. Empathy is at the base of social entrepreneurship. You cannot have a social entrepreneur unless they have cultivated empathy. So how do we build an everyone a change maker world? We must start with the children. And the moral future of our universe rests on the breath of the children. We need to give them voice. We need to appreciate that their humanity is strong, that no matter what happened yesterday, we have to prepare for tomorrow. The children are not just a part of the future. The children are 100% of the future. So our ability to raise them up, our ability to look at educating the whole child, not just the intellect of the child, because the essence of our humanity is not just our intellect. We would have had peace, world peace, long ago if we just depended on our hearts and our minds. You can get many brilliant people in a room to try and solve the issues of today, the environmental degradation, all of the unrest between countries. We haven't had much luck. But if we put empathy in the mix, if we built an opportunity to take the perspective of the other person, there are two aspects of empathy. The one aspect is perspective taking. It's a cognitive trait. It's a skill that can be cultivated. It's something that we can help children develop. So cognitive development, the ability to put yourself in the other person's shoes, to be able to take their perspective and understand their point of view and their feelings, is core to any type of conflict resolution, whether you're talking about children in the sandbox or you're talking about the boardrooms and the war rooms of the world. Without that capacity to take the perspective of the others, we are lost. But the other part of empathy, the affective side of empathy, is about emotion. And we are defined not by our cognitive development, but by our affective development. And I think in this world, we worry so much about traditional levels of literacy. We measure children's reading scores all the time. We have the OECD ranking countries by the reading levels of the children, and I figure we only measure what we treasure. So why do we never measure our humanity? Our emotions are the base of our humanity. Empathy is the most essential human trait. So we measure children's reading scores and their math scores, and we wonder why we have wars. So we have within our reach the opportunity to grasp with the children a very different tomorrow. A tomorrow where every child has a sense of their own personhood, a sense of agency. And we heard earlier today from the morning presentations about the incredible youth ventures. We heard about how it's important that youth must be taken seriously and must have a chance to affect change. It doesn't happen overnight when you become 13. It happens when you're 3. And it happens when you're 3 days old. Because empathy develops within the loving relationship of the parent and the baby. It develops within intimacy. Empathy grows from love. And empathy is very much located in the brain. We like to think it's in the heart. But empathy and all of our emotions reside in the brain. And as well as teaching kids to read, we should teach limbic learning in school, because that's the limbic system. That's where we develop our emotions, our connections to one another, our sense of valuing the contribution of each person and connecting to them. So I will speak a little bit about neuroscience. And the last decade, we had an avalanche of research explaining to us how our brains actually work, how experiences are biologically embedded in our brain. They define who we become. And Roots of Empathy is very much about experiential learning, learning through all of the senses. It's how we learn very deeply, through our hearing and our seeing, touch, taste. All of those early experiences form who we become. So that if a baby is raised and incubated in fear, if there's domestic violence, extreme poverty, if there's a big challenge in the family, that baby's brains are affected. If there is a maternal depression, a postpartum depression, the baby is so close to the mother that the baby experiences the mother's joy and the mother's stress. If a mother is stressed, so is the baby. So many failure to thrive babies are from depressed moms who we need to hold in the palm of our hand. We must cherish those who raise the children, because if the family starts to unravel, so does society. The family is the most important institution under the stars. And next to the family, education. All of the children go in developed countries. And if they all go, we have an opportunity to influence not just the reading scores of the country, but the feeling scores of the country. A chance to tip the culture so that we have a society where children are empowered to speak up for justice, where children feel a sense of responsibility for contributing to the happiness of those around them. And have we got any, what happened to the video? I may be tap dancing. The idea of Roots of Empathy is to take a little baby, 2 to 4 months of age, and the mother, and sometimes the father, and bring them into the classroom to roll out a green blanket. And all of the children and the classroom teacher sit around that green blanket. And they are coached by a Roots of Empathy instructor to observe, to be scientists, to see what is happening with this little tiny person who weighs 10 pounds. This perfect example of hope. Roots of Empathy is a pedagogy of hope. So they learn the baby's needs, the baby's intentions, the baby's feelings. And a baby is a theater of emotion. Babies have no lenses. They don't hide. They don't have any social pressure to conform or behave as you should behave. They cry if they're unhappy. The children learn what we call emotional literacy from a baby, a tiny teacher. They learn the words, the language for the baby's feelings. So that if the baby is feeling worried because the mother has walked away from the blanket to get a diaper, the baby gets worried. The children look at the baby's face. They see the baby looking around to the mother. They realize the mother is the baby's lifeline, the safe base exploring, moving away a little bit at a time from the mother. The children are asked, how do you think the baby is feeling? And because we work with little children 5 and 6 years old in kindergarten, up to the age of 13, and we say to the children, what do you think is happening for the baby? They tell us, and they listen to one another, and then we use the baby as a launching pad, a way for us to have a discussion with the children. When was a time that you felt like that? When were you worried? When did you feel anxious? And what that does is it gives the children permission to be vulnerable. It makes it all right in the whole class for everybody to say, yes, when I'm alone after school, I feel worried. But I don't want to tell my mommy because she has to work. And she works to get money for the family. And I don't want her to feel bad. So the children are brilliant in their capacity, in that experience, to understand the feelings and to be able to talk about them. Because we don't do that very well in society. We don't talk about our negative emotions, about sadness and loneliness and fearfulness. We're only allowed to talk about being happy. I think it's very important to be happy, but children need for their mental health to be able to talk about all of their feelings. And very often in the program, it goes all school year long. We have 27 classes. The mother and the baby, they only come for 9 of those classes. And every time they come, the week before they come, we have a class where we help children predict what will be happening with the baby and to project. And then the baby comes and we check what's going on with the baby. And we learn a lot about the baby, and we learn about the attachment relationship, which is where empathy grows. And we say to the children, the baby learns from being loved. That loving relationships inform the brain. And the phrase I use is love grows brains. And the children are so clever, they understand that a baby brought up in harsh environment with yelling and hitting is a baby whose brain is bathed in the stress hormone cortisol. And little babies who don't have their emotional needs met predictably and consistently do not learn how to regulate their emotions. And these are the little children who grow up and very, very aggressive. These are the children who are on chronic alert, waiting for something to happen, being anxious all the time. They have cortisol level, the stress level of their brain, the thermostat is set high. So they're anxious, vigilant all the time. Their brain isn't free to learn. They don't have open receptive capacity. They are the children who, when you bump into them, when they're 7 years old, they'll push you. But they might pull a knife when they're 17 because they don't know how to control their negative emotions. So through the attachment relationship, through the way that the mother loves the baby and understands the baby's needs, the children see the most perfect model of empathy in the world. And they learn what love looks like. And you would not imagine how many children have never seen a really loving relationship like that. And so many people say to me, isn't it cruel to show the little children what they're missing? And I say, no, they have a hope of breaking a cycle, of changing a pattern, of intergenerational poor parenting, violence, because what children experience is what they live. And in Roots of Empathy, it is pattern changing. It opens up another universe for the children. So we work very hard to help children reflect. We say, let's stop, let's slow down, let's think about a time when you felt lonely. Do you know that we have a pandemic of loneliness in children's lives? Because we do a lot of art in the program, and we give children markers, big paper, and permission to show us how they feel on paper. And in children's art, they don't paint what they see. They draw what they feel, and they never lie. So we've learned across North America, in Europe, in New Zealand, Australia, that children feel lonely, that they don't want to always be with the computer. They would rather be with someone who they could play with, someone who would talk to them, someone who would spend time listening to them. And we have such a fast society that the children don't have much intimacy. We learn to be human by being in relationship. And the less time we have being in relationship, the less human we become. So the gods of the day, money, technology. I have nothing against money or technology, but we need to be in balance. And now we know that pro-social behavior, just meaning being positive socially, the base of pro-social behavior is empathy. And that's fairly new learning. So if you look at, way to go, I'll interrupt myself because I would really like you to see a normal Roots of Empathy program so you have a sense. We start every family visit by allowing every little child to gaze into the eyes of the baby. And when you gaze in a baby's eyes, levels of oxytocin are secreted in your brain. Oxytocin is the hormone, I call it the hug hormone. It makes us feel affectionate. It makes us feel soft and kind and good and open to one another. So we always sing to the baby, because when you sing, you are building solidarity. When we sing together, it's emotional soup. We are one. It's why we have national anthems. It tells us who we are. And we use the classroom as a community, much as you spoke about. There is strength in community. And if little children learn to be a citizen in the community of the classroom, can you just imagine how brilliant they will be in the community of the world? So Annie, is that me to try it?
Hello, baby May, and how
Louder.
are you? How are you? How are you? Hello, baby May, and how are you? How are you today? Hello, baby May, and how are you? How are you? How are you? Hello, baby May, and how are you? How are you today?
Marcelo and Amaric spoke about putting children in charge or putting youth in charge. In Roots of Empathy, when we train the instructors, and there's a rigorous training, a 4-day training and mentoring, professional development, one of the things we say jokingly, affectionately, is please shut up and listen up. Because we have to give the children the chance to find their voice. And around the green blanket, there are no wrong answers, and there are no stupid questions. And the child who may not be the best at mathematics may be brilliant in reading the emotions of the baby. And in terms of skills in life, to be able to read emotional cues is core to being successful in business, in relationships, and in pretty well anything we do. So some of these little children will say to the teacher, "Miss, why are you angry today?" And the teacher will say, "I'm not angry." "Oh, yes, miss, your eyes are angry." So they become very good at understanding how other people are feeling. Now there's another clip to show you this class at another time.
Let's see what she can do. Do you want to play with
We're
this?
talking about neuroscience here.
What does that sound like? What's the sound? I want this toy. So she's saying she wants this toy, but the sound she's making. Let's put this on here. Let's see what happens. Okay, now is this, do you think she'll be able to get this? Okay, let's watch her. Now what's she gonna do?
They're learning about her intentions. What is she trying to do?
What happened? What happened? What happened? Should I pick you up? Do you need help? Okay, let's pick you up. Okay. Did she get upset when she tipped over? No. No, so is she easily frustrated? No. No, she's not. Let's try and put her back. Put her back a little bit closer again to see. Yeah. Whoops. I think she's ready to do something else. Let's see if she tries again. Want to try again? What do you think? Do you think she wants to try? What do you think?
He wants to try again.
You think she wants to try again? See, look at her body's reaching. Let's try and see what happens. Does anybody remember when she was learning to roll over? Whoop. She kept trying. Whoops.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Did that get her?
You okay? Should we try? Make a little closer?
Yeah.
So the idea is the children learn to understand the baby's intention. And that is innate, and sometimes it's socialized out of us. And this, what you just saw, is the idea that empathy is not taught, it's caught. It's caught when we see it happening. There are mirror neurons in the children's brains. You have to experience it, and then it is biologically embedded in their brain. So that what's very interesting about the children in the Roots of Empathy classes, aggression goes down dramatically, and social and emotional understanding goes up. And unlike other experiences children might have, in Canada we have a lot of anti-bullying programs, and they're all about rules. You can't do this or you must do that, and they're teacher imposed. But what happens with these children, it's intrinsic and it's generalizable, so that they take that understanding wherever they go. So when the school goes for a trip, they always want children from Roots of Empathy class in case anyone gets homesick. They know that those children will help, and they will support the child who's nervous. Now, this slide here is about the decade. Well, I was saying the last decade was the decade of neuroscience because of the incredible advances in our understanding how we develop. But I would like to predict and hope that this decade would be the decade of empathy. That we would begin to understand, if we want to find one another in this world, if we want to tear down the walls and not put people into groups which allow us to marginalize them by saying they're different from us, if we can find the ways that we are the same, and the ways we are the same is in the universality of our feelings. And that's what happens around green blankets. We talk about our differences. We talk about the temperament of the baby. Does the baby get frustrated very easily? And then we're able to say to the children, do you get frustrated very easily? How can I help you when you get frustrated? Who can you ask to help you when you get frustrated, instead of throwing something or hitting someone? So the interconnectedness of a globalized world allows us to explore our interdependence. It doesn't make us weaker, it makes us stronger. The presentation we had where our two friends from France and Argentina decided to present together, I think it made the presentation richer. So this idea of trying to join up our humanity in the world for peaceful coexistence can start with little children as young as 5 years of age. And the unpredictability of the world, the mudslides, the tsunamis, all of the things that we cannot control for that require an empathic response. These are the things that little children can be cultivated into being change makers, so that when they confront things outside the classroom, they will be able to respond in an empathic way and make changes. I've got this in my pocket, I think. Yeah. So in the school system, we typically say if Johnny has 3 apples and Amelia takes 2, we'd usually say how many apples are left. But in Roots of Empathy, we say, how will Johnny feel? Because how Johnny feels predicts exactly what Johnny's going to learn. And if Johnny's feeling pretty sad or disappointed, there's no learning happening that day. So classroom teachers learn from us that they have to understand the emotional climate of their classroom before they can do any significant teaching. And they learn that from their Roots of Empathy instructor, who is someone from the community who is trained and comes in and works with them. This is our mission since 1996, to build a caring, peaceful, and civil societies through the development of empathy in children and adults. And any adult who has the chance to watch the emotional life of the child around a green blanket is changed forever. Here's one of our Roots of Empathy dads. He, a musician, he had hair, a dreadlock, down to his waist. But when he came in as a father, his gentleness, his love of his baby, his joy with his baby, was a model of male nurturing for the children. Because in Canada we have many children who don't have a father in the home. And with families, extended families spread, they don't see how loving a man can be. They don't have a model. So we appreciate when the dad comes. This is a celebration we have in the month of June across the world. The end of the program, we celebrate the babies. They come together. And usually they can't walk. They can't talk. But they are the most powerful teachers because they teach through love. And here's another little clip. No, didn't work. I think you have to click it there, Annie.
The more the students got to know Eleanor, the more interested they were in learning all about her.
These children are 11 years
On
old.
each visit, they explored different elements of her life. This time, it was sleep.
I mean, she can sleep anywhere.
Okay.
However, she's easily woken.
And that actually brings us to a temperament trait. A baby who wakes at a small sound, as opposed to a baby who sleeps through small sounds, is that baby more or less sensitive?
More.
Yeah. Sensitivity is a temperament trait that relates to sleep.
The children learned that a baby who has trouble sleeping isn't a bad baby. She just has a different temperament than some. Exploring the concept of temperament leads to a discussion about individual traits. Stephanie Baptiste ran the empathy program at Leslieville.
Everyone experiences all the same range of emotions. You may experience anger more frequently than some people, and when you experience it, you hold on to it for a long time, or you express it in different ways. Some people want to yell, some people want to punch, some people want to growl, whatever. But as human beings, we all have the same feelings, even babies.
Now we're going to weigh you by yourself, because it's just a little more than 85. Sorry, love. So 86 minus 70.
Along with personality, Eleanor's physical growth was part of the lesson too.
Last time she was here, she weighed 14 pounds.
Students learned that the baby's physical size is only one dimension of the person.
We're going to move away from babies now to talk more about children your age than just about babies.
Having the baby in the classroom is one part of the Roots of Empathy program. There's also study and discussion before Eleanor comes in and after she leaves.
Put your hand up if you feel annoyed on a pretty regular basis with the people around you. I sure do it.
Me and my mom, we really like each other and all. Like, we have a good relationship, but then sometimes she gets mad at me or I get mad at her because me and my sister get into this huge kind of fight and kind of thing.
Put your hand up if you would say you've wanted to scream, "It's not fair!"
At first, it wasn't easy for the kids to discuss their emotions openly, but slowly, teacher Miss Shelley saw things change.
When we first started, they're very sort of keep their feelings to themselves, but now they can talk about how they're feeling more.
Our brains work better when we're not stressed and we're not lonely. I would ask that the people who filmed this would please not use it other than for yourself. I had a little problem with this in Japan, that we had replication all over the place. So I would just ask that. Emotional literacy, how does it happen? Well, here they observe and label the baby's emotions, reflecting and identifying their own emotions. That's what you just saw. And understanding the emotions of others, how other people feel is what empathy is. And then the bridge, the ability to be comfortable talking about how you feel. That is something that is rare. Typically, women are socialized to talk about their feelings, but in Roots of Empathy, all of the children, the little boys as well as the little girls, are quite capable of discussing how they feel. And it makes a more supportive learning environment. Children attend school on a more regular basis. Children are not bullied in their classroom because they know they don't laugh at anybody or make fun of anybody because they understand how that would feel. So the idea of intrinsic motivation is quite unique to Roots of Empathy. The competition in school is enough to drown you. that children are always feeling they have to be top and best and first. And with Roots of Empathy, we build consensus. We don't reward children for having the first answer or the best answer. We acknowledge participation and contribution. We don't judge it. And praise is simply a positive judgment. But it takes all the power away from the children. There are no tests in Roots of Empathy. The children are the best judge of their own empathy and their own positive power. So when we don't reward the children by saying, great answer, or what an intelligent question, we find that the children who rarely contribute, they all contribute. We find that the autistic children, we have inclusive practice throughout Canada, autistic children who never speak, they speak in Roots of Empathy. Elective mute children who never take a chance in speaking in public, speak in Roots of Empathy classes. Children who are very shy, or their first language isn't the language of the classroom, who are nervous to take a chance, like the Anyang Ha Secho. They take chances. They're brave, they're courageous, because they know we're all together. We never say to the child who puts the hand up first, we never answer that hand. We wait for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hands to go up. And we say, we haven't heard from you for a while. What would you like to tell us? So children don't try and impress you. They only share something that's meaningful, and they really listen to one another. So they are learning how to be in conversation, to be responding to other people rather than waiting for a chance to say something. You have dialogue, you have authentic dialogue. Here's where we have many activities that are consensus building. Rather than coming up with the right answer, collectively the children come to a decision on something. And we have many activities that work in this way. And Bill Drayton spoke about the idea of collectives, where we would have several social entrepreneurs come together, and that it's a powerful way of doing it. Well, this is a formative experience where children can put their egos on the back shelf and be committed to doing something rather than competing with another group or other children, but trying to do something positive together, where the goal is that as a unit, you will be contributing something. So one of the collaboratives we have around empathy, we have a person, Jill Violet, who Bill mentioned yesterday, who has programs where she set up recess, where children have a chance to play together. So then we put Roots of Empathy in the classroom, where children have opportunities in their regular school day to try and understand themselves and somebody else. And then we have peace games, where after school, in Eric's program, he helps children understand how to have fun without beating someone, without someone being a winner and everybody else being a loser. So there are many opportunities. Molly runs a program where girls who are about 11 to 15, who have very low self-esteem, they form a running troupe, and they go running together, and they build their sense of self-esteem, because you have to feel good to do good. And if children feel worthless, they don't have much to contribute. So early aggressive behavior is a single best predictor of delinquency and other aggression. Empathy works against aggression. So if we can have empathy go up, aggression goes down. It's like this, it's an inverse relationship. Why empathy? It's the key to successful relationships in life. It's critical in resisting aggressive behaviors. Empathy is like a brake. It stops you. You think, oh my goodness, how is this going to feel for the other person? It's key to social competence. We have children who are dropping out of school out of problems. It's associated, not only associated, it's the base of pro-social behaviors, it's also connected to academic functioning and obviously to effective parenting. If you can't get under the skin of your baby and understand your baby, you can't have a good attachment relationship for that child. Without a good attachment relationship, which is a template for every relationship in life, the child is impaired at the get-go. So empathy in society should be in the water supply. And if we start with the little children, and then have programs like Youth Venture, and then have social entrepreneurs work in our universities, we have a chance of revisioning tomorrow to be the world that the children deserve. Of the starry skies and the haystacks of Vincent van Gogh, that is the world the children deserve. I'd like to stop here so that we can have an opportunity for the panel to contribute to the discussion. So thank you very much for your attention.